Every quarter is important from earning perspective, but there are some quarters which are very different from other quarters, and one of such quarter is this one. Why? Because you have been noticing that the big tech is firing big time, and we are seeing banks falling in US. So two banks have fallen already in US. One bank in Switzerland, which is Credit Suisse, has also fallen. What that indicates is this, high interest rate scenario which we are living in right now is very difficult to survive for many industries. And in that case, when the larger industries like banking goes through that pain, what that indicates is their dependent sectors, who they lend to, they are facing headwinds. And if they are facing headwinds, banking is suffering. If the banking is suffering, IT industry is going to suffer. That is how whole chain works. Now, why I'm avoiding talking about some numbers, we will talk about numbers as well. I notice maybe you guys do not really want to look at numbers, but you want to understand the summary. So what I decided this time is not to just talk about the numbers, what happened earlier, what happened now, but give you my interpretation of this number. So just for brief, let's understand the numbers first, and I'll give you my interpretation, and I'll also give you some question and answer. So I keep getting these questions on different forums. Some of you and many of the people on LinkedIn drop me message at times, then some of you drop me message on YouTube and also on Twitter. So I will try to collate some of these questions and will answer you. So let's look at these numbers first, and these numbers are very significant. When we look at the headline number, the total revenue of Accenture in this quarter has been $15.8 billion, right? This is actually not a bad performance, and it is in line. If I remember correctly, last year I saw somewhere they had given an outlook of 15.3 to 15.75 or 15.8 billion dollar guidance, which is fine. That means they are in that range. But when you look at their different verticals, look at the communication and technology, no growth. Financial services 10%. I'm telling you, even the bigger impact will come in the quarter ahead, because we just saw these all issues coming up now, and this will have a huge impact on clients spend in the coming quarter. So be careful. So this 10%, don't go by this number. Next quarter we might see some contraction there. Financial sector actually decides the fate for any IT company. And what's interesting is they have a huge booking, which is $22 billion in booking, new booking. That's huge, and 17% increment. I haven't seen this figure before. Last year they were posting 17, 18, 19 billions in booking, but this time they are beating themselves. So this gives us a contradictory picture. On one hand, we are saying that growth is moderating, but we are seeing record booking number. That is the contradiction we are in right now. I don't know how they are able to generate such huge booking, but this is really an interesting paradox, I would say. Okay, so let's stay with that at the moment. I have the little bit of doubt on that, but with Accenture I would not say they are doing something wrong, but looks like we still have to see the impact of what's happening in the global economy. Maybe this will come in the future. We need to be watchful. Yeah, so I was looking for the operating margin number, which I missed somehow on the front page itself. Their operating margin is 13.8%. If you saw last year, it's a contraction of 150 basis point, and actually the margin were about, I think, 12.3%, right? Then after some gap adjustment, I believe the margins improved, which is 13.8. So there is a huge hit on the broader margin. Last year they were clocking 15-16% margin, so it's a huge hit. That's why I said we need to look at the details. And when we look at the details, you will find the details are even worrying, and we need to look at their commentary. We need to look at the commentary from their CEO Julia Sweet, right? Now, first problem area, Accenture updates business outlook for fiscal year 2023, which is now 8 to 10%. Last year it was 8 to 11%, so that means it's a downward revision. Let's move next. What happens on the operating margin level? Last year they were touching about 16%. Now they are 14.1 to 14.3%. That's a big hit. What I'm interested in, third quarter fiscal guidance, business outlook, right? So the business outlook is an increase of 3 to 7% in local currency. That means in constant currency it might not be that bad, that good. What you see here is, in terms of revenue, is you will find they have done a lot of cost optimizations, and CEO has accepted that in their own press conference. She has highlighted how much saving they did due to the cost optimizations this year. What are the cost optimizations? Maybe they fired few employees already, they shut some of their offices, and also maybe some other expenses they have cut down. They are going to make it even bigger next year, so around 600 or 500 million they are going to save next year, and then after equally in the next year. So what you see as a good performance on top line, which is the revenue, is actually a mix of some of these arrangements, some optimizations. CEO herself said that non-billable resources will be shown the exit door. 2.5% of their employees are going to be impacted, and I was seeing this, so the information is bit not organized in one place. I saw it somewhere here. Yeah, so Accenture, here you can see Accenture will lay off 19,000 employees, and it also trims the forecast for next year. As I already explained, they have reduced their FY23 revenue guidance already from 8 to 11% to about 8 to 10% growth. So they have already cut down on that aspect. Employees are already being fired, so this will continue, and the CEO herself said that the non-billable employees will actually be impacted. And when we say non-billable, they can be the people who do not have resource, who do not have projects, as well as support functions will be also impacted. One question I always face from you is, when the situation will improve? Do we have any idea? See, as long as the interest rate cycle continues to go up higher, right, we will not see any change. This will happen, okay? But when the cycle starts turning down, and that will depend on the inflation scenario. Right now in US the inflation is out of control, decadal high. So keeping that in mind, it looks like 6 months you can assume it is there for sure. So the interest rates will be high for next 6 months at least. And if we go by the popular sentiments, it looks like next 1 year will be a painful year. And once, when will that cycle peak? The cycle will peak when we have the interest rate cut down by the Federal Reserve in United States. How this will impact other people, who will be impacted? I'm little bit worried for fresher, because companies already have bloated workforce. You understand? They did a hiring, now they are doing firing. In between, we have seen a huge change in IT industry, how it operates. See, every time you from your personal experience, you can see that every time you have a huge upcycle, it cannot remain there for very long, so it has to come down. That's why we always want a linear growth, not spike and then a fall. And that you see from their firing, 19,000 people being fired by Accenture, 19,000 people fired by AWS. Likewise, Meta, Microsoft, Google all have fired huge number of employees. First of all, the people who are fired by these companies, they are also in the market. Now freshers are also in the market. Freshers have this advantage, they have cost on their side. These people who are being fired, they will be expensive employees. So that is what has happened. So this disruption is was in the making for last 2-3 years. I actually talked about these things in couple of videos. The people who have got huge increments, jumps in last 1 or 2 years, they are going to suffer in the long run. In a way, they have reduced their working duration or their lifespan in corporate industry. If anybody who was earning less, if they have a lifespan of 40 years, I would not say 40 years, lifespan until the age of 45-50, the people who got huge hike, now they have 5 years less. So I hope these things subside quickly. But from the IT industry perspective, if you want to look at some more data points, I can show you some of them. For example, their employees are 738,000 employees compared to 737,000 last quarter. Now you can see the hiring has stopped in Accenture as well. They hardly hired 300 employees in last 3 months, and going forward they are going to cut down. Okay, so their attrition number is at 12%, lowest number in many quarters from I think May or April 21. So far 12%. So that means there are no jobs in the market now. Their attrition is low, they have a bloated workforce, they have highly paid employees. Now what happens? They have to release them. Now the interesting fact is that the numbers which you see from Accenture are actually an effort of lot of cut downs, small cut downs. I can give you one example. In Accenture, they have this culture of huge variable pay nowadays. They introduced that 2-3 years ago when this whole thing started. Earlier, their level 8 employee used to have 18% variable pay. Now their level 9 employee has 21%, 27% variable pay. In the last quarter, what they did, that means for previous year, they only paid 10% of the variable pay. So what does that mean? So first of all, one third of salary you put as variable pay, and out of 1/3 of the salary you pay only 10% as your performance, as your variable pay. What that indicates is, if you have, let's say, a 30 lakh rupees package, just for understanding, you make 8 lakh or maybe 9 lakh as your variable pay component. Out of that you pay only 10% in 2 installments. What that means, out of 9 lakh yearly you paid hardly 20%, which is about 1,80,000. You saved hell lot of money from there, and that you see in these numbers. So be careful when you are reading these top line numbers and driving any interpretation from it. I hope I was able to handle some of these aspects well and explain some of these things. I will come back and talk about some other subjects very soon. If you like these discussions, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you.